inspiring a new generation of African leaders. Africa is endowed with countless natural resources, but millions of Africans live in deep-rooted poverty. Do you know that there are about 165,000 very wealthy individuals in Africa with a combined net wealth holdings of more than $660 billion? This equates to roughly 28% of total individual wealth held on the continent. Common myth: Africa is uncivilized. Meet the 800-year-old golden rhinoceros that challenged apartheid in South Africa. Rhino made from pure gold from Limpopo province of Tanzania, constructed in 1441, 200 years before the invasion by European settlers. The manufacturing process required engineering of the highest order. This proves Africa is the cradle of all civilizations. Africa lacks good leadership role models worth of emulation for young people and women aspiring leaders. Dysfunctional leadership has produced in industrial scale debt, hunger, disease, ignorance, and poverty. Pan African Leadership Center, debunking Eurocentric lies about African history, defining African narrative from Afrocentric perspectives, and a breeding ground for Pan Africanism. Pan African Leadership Center, every Thursday at 4 p.m. EAT, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. British Standard Time, 1 p.m. GMT, starting this Thursday, 22nd of July 2021. Africa must unite. We want a United States of Africa with one president, one military, one central bank, and one passport. We must unite or perish. Did you know that Africa is bigger than China, India, the US, and most of Europe combined? But if you look at the usual flat map of the world, it appears that Greenland is nearly as big as Africa. But the truth is, it's not even close. Africa is 14 times larger. African continent has a land area of 30.37 million square kilometers, enough to fit in the US, China, India, Japan, Mexico, and many European nations combined. Become a supporter of United States of Africa. Enroll now. For more information about United States of Africa, visit usafricagov.com.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Hello, everyone. This is the Pan African Leadership Center. This is the first episode that we'll be streaming, and I'm very honored to be the first host. If you don't know, my name is Tierney Cherie. I'm from the African Esquire TV YouTube channel, and I was invited by United States of Africa to host this discussion with a very, very well-respected guest. I would like to introduce Professor Mamu Muchi. If I said your name incorrectly, you could please correct me.
No, it's perfect.
Perfect. Awesome. And today's theme is going to be very pivotal, I think, for African people. Today's theme is sanitizing Africa by anchoring governance, leadership, institutions, and systems with Ubuntu and practice. So, Professor Muchi, could you please just give us a little bit more context about yourself, about what your work is inside of this area?
Yes, thank you very much. In my entire life, I have been struggling about we in Africa, how we should really manage what we're not able to since the time when we said we had a lot of struggles. You know, look at America. You had a lot of struggle against racism, but racism still exists. Also, we have a lot of struggle in Africa against colonialism, but colonialism still exists. So, and the problem is not always those that colonize us, all right, and that also are racist against us. It's also our problem. We don't know how to struggle together and, trust each other, work with each other, and deal with any challenges we face. So we have our trust capital is very, very low, and that means that when you don't trust each other, external actors can come and manipulate us. Often, what do? They give you something and say, hurt your sister Terry, and I go for hurting you, rather than saying, no, I will not hurt my sister. To hell with your money, to all the thing you give me, I don't want it. Her health and her safety is a priority for me, not the pocket that you want to fill with me, and that is evil. That's what we should be saying. We're not saying that. So what happens is we divide each other. Some get weapons, some get all kinds of things. They get manipulated, and then the divisions occur. When the divisions happen, it's easy for them to attack us and divide us and use everything that we have. I mean, trust me, the resources we have in Africa, as our brother Daniel mentions it, is amazing. The other day, there was a discussion we had with the president of the Congo, DRC Congo. I did say to him that the DRC Congo has resources. I told him all the minerals that they have, estimated to 24 trillion. That's a combined gross national product of all of Europe and America in one place in Africa alone. Frantz Fanon called the DRC Congo the heart of Africa. So if you spoil our heart, our body doesn't function very well. So the key thing is, why is the DRC Congo always in conflict? Still, it's in conflict. Why can't you also create, I said, the sovereign wealth fund, something like that, so that the people of the Congo, not only the people of Congo, all of Africa, can be able to own these resources, so that if we own them, there will be no fighting. You shouldn't give it to the politicians. You shouldn't give it to the foreigners, but give it first and foremost, let the Africans own as Africans, because they are there, something like that. And that means all of us, including those of you in America, the Caribbean, all of us we should still facing the same challenge. So we should be really trying to do something like that. So our main issues, I mentioned them, we mentioned them, you and me and all of Daniel, all of you mentioned it. There are 4 areas that we need to fix in Africa. It's critically important areas. And these are governance. The governance in Africa is still poor. It misses 2 things. Missing one is every governance system we have, the state system, everything is copied. Actually, when the independence happened in 1963, what happened? All the Europeans did is they left the system, they arranged, but they just how did they what did they do? Some of them left, but who did they have in the various governments? People they are working with, they support with. Look at Patrice Lumumba. He was independent. They didn't like him. You see, and then they chose the one that they can work with. So they try to have their own agents to run the state they left. We did not decolonize. Decolonization should have been political decolonization, economic decolonization. Also, to be honest with you, in terms of also our way of thinking, how do we really do? Do we keep taking ideas from outside, not valuing our own, and then inferiorize ourselves by saying that the values that come from outside is better than the values we have? So our SIM card our software, our hard disk is full of virus, a colonial virus also. So even in our way of knowing, we don't have the acknowledgement of the indigenous way by which Africans know and learn and do. And so we completely ignore our knowledge heritage, our spiritual heritage, and all the struggle that we died for to liberate ourselves from colonialism also was bankrupted. Why? Because what did we do to Africa? We did not decolonize Africa. We only allowed it to be recolonized by neocolonialism. So we ended up like that. If you take, for example, different parts of Africa, after the 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference, what did they do? They simply say, this part should be for Portugal, this part should be for Germany, this part of Africa for France, for Britain, for all kinds of European countries try to take all parts of Africa. So every part became African. You know, they partitioned it like that. Now, what happened is we still have Anglophone, Lusophone, Francophone, Levantine phone, all these kind of phones. Africa is not a phone. Africa is philia. Africa should be loved. In our deep values, we have the values that not only will save Africa, the whole world. We have Ubuntu. We have many serious, extraordinary philosophies that we have. Even the African Enlightenment was created before the European Enlightenment. And everything, a lot of the things the Europeans do is copy from us, but reject that we created anything. So I think we have that serious challenge, my sister, really genuinely. What we need to do now is to really address this matter. And I really appreciate you very much for creating this Pan-African Leadership Center. I think we need to address it. How do we resolve the leadership challenge? How do we resolve the governance challenge? Leadership poverty, leadership curse is what we still have. Look where I am now in South Africa. I'm so sad. Trust me. There's whatever is the problem, over 276 people have now been killed. Is it necessary? I mean, all the looting, all the stabbing, and all these things should not happen in a country like South Africa, which is really genuinely has been very, trying to create a new model. And I was genuinely thinking it can be a model for the rest of Africa. But now we're in a difficult situation. The same thing is happening in the country where I was born, Ethiopia. You not believe that is not the country that should be under this tremendous difficulty. Why? Because it's the only country in Africa that never allowed the colonialists completely control it. But you know what happened? If they didn't know how to control you, they know how to divide you. How do they use it? They use ethnic division, use language. Can you imagine? You should value languages. You should not say my language is better than your language. My religion is better than, my way of worshipping is better than another. We shouldn't be thinking like that, my sister. It's not right. Then what happened? Now in Ethiopia, you have chaos almost everywhere. Complicated, not resolved. Still fighting going on. You'll not believe it. It's still in many parts, there is not going, and people are still being killed. We shouldn't be in this situation at all in Africa. We should get out of it. We should value what we need to value most, which is our system of leadership has to change. Our governance has to change. Our institutions have to be really constructed very well. And then the system has to be completely arranged in such a way that the people are involved very systematically, and that would be the best way to do it. I hope. No, I heard the. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Okay. But I don't want it to be poor, the system. But I think those are some of the ideas. I just have that. I think we should. This Pan-African Leadership Center that you have now founded is very necessary, so that we need to find ways by which the entire leadership changes. The key thing is that we don't want leaders who are there for money or for price, all right, for corruption. We need leaders to serve. If they are not there to serve the people, then there's no point to even ask them to run for election. Only those who like to serve, not those who seek their own advantage. We need to actually select like that. If we do that, then we'll not have challenges. But the way things are now running, we copy everything. Even the political party system, you know, all these political parties, the way they compete and everything, it's not in our values. We need to create our own rehabilitative justice, restorative justice, our own traditions and culture, our own philosophy. All that African centeredness, as you rightly could, to put it, that has to also be acknowledged, put in the education system, and completely really transform Africa. Africa needs to be transformed. We have everything. We can not only do what we have is not just for us, for the whole world. We can also save the world. We can do it. It's not a problem. But first, though, at the moment we are now completely in a difficult situation because every resource, our resource, is not with us, and we are not with Africa. We are in Africa, but we're not for Africa. So we need to completely change that, and if that happens, then the future would be bright, and we should go really genuinely onwards and forwards to make a big difference. And I hope we can do it. And thank you very much.
Thank you. You've said a lot of points, and so much to discuss. Speaking about, you know, South Africa and also your analysis of the DRC, it seems to be the issue is that whenever a stance of decolonization is taken as far as expropriation of resources or the people taking control of things that are owned by the West, that those leaders automatically become a pariah, obviously, to Western imperialism. And the problem we have, if we go back to Patrice Lumumba, it seems as though even if we do get a leader who's representative of the people, that they could easily be assassinated. Not just Patrice Lumumba, you have Thomas Sankara, you have the Nkrumah being taken out by a coup. So many leaders who have been completely done away with. So, what is your suggestion as far as African people that, if first of all, when we get these types of leaders who are representative of the people, how are they protected? If you look like Muammar Gaddafi, it was very easy for the West to villainize him and then completely overthrow Libya. And now we know Libya is in turmoil. So what do we do with that reality?
No, very good question. We have a serious challenge about how external actors interfere. I must tell you one example now. The external actors, all right? For example, in America, you have the CIA and the USAID, all these other, they join together and then just to generate the conflict. Opposing factions in different parts of Africa get supported by them. In other words, the conflict continues. Because there is a military industrial complex in the United States. The industry produce weapons. They need to sell it. The only way they can sell it is if they kill people. And who is the target they want to kill? Africans. Why are Africans get killed? Because Africans are not able to understand, yes, that they should really completely reject any fighting amongst each other. So again, when it comes to leadership, leaders also are what? They are connected externally. In the former, if you take the French part, there are 14 states that used to be controlled by the French. The French, can I just tell you, each of these countries will not go to each other. They would prefer to go to France. In other words, the relationship over something like 65% of the reserves of the money, the natural of these countries, is in French banks. The French do not own that wealth that these African countries have. But if the treasure goes to France, when these countries want to take the money, they pay interest on their own money. I just could not believe it. I'm sincerely telling you. It's so scary. Why are we behaving like that? So what happens is, if you ask them to go to each other's countries, they don't want to go. They prefer to go to Paris. So what you have is, even the leaderships, even some of the coup d'etats problems we have, the Côte d'Ivoire, Cameroon, all these places where there's conflicts among leaders, it is because if you are not, Thomas Sankara. How did Thomas Sankara die? His own best friend is the one that they used, all right, to get him killed. I'm sincerely telling you. I had a PhD at UNISA. One of the students did a PhD, and I was examining it. And I'm sincerely telling you, and I read all of that, I was in tears. I'm sincerely telling you, a person like that. You know what Thomas Sankara said? They told him that this friend of his is against him and he's going to hurt him. And Thomas Sankara says, he's my brother. I can't do anything against him, he says. I can't arrest him. I I hope he doesn't do it. What you're saying is not true. But we're always together. What's the problem? But he did it. His friend that Thomas Sankara believed in was more for France, the French, than who wanted to kill him, and he got him killed. So, the same, look at, you said also Gaddafi. Gaddafi created what's called the Afro. He had enough gold, he accumulated, and he said it's not for Libya, it's for the whole of Africa. He said it. Whatever Gaddafi is, he has some eccentric or whatever behavior, but whatever he had on Africa, he said, I'm a Berber, I'm not Arab. He said that. And then he said, I'm African. So what did he do? He created the Afro, like the euro. And he had enough gold to create what he called the African, not the World Bank, the African World Bank, not the World Bank, the African World Bank, not the IMF, the African Bank. When they heard this, they were scared. All right, Sarkozy is the one that they organized who? NATO, and then our own brother, Obama. He was also involved, but later, give him credit to Obama. He said, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." He did say that. At least give him credit. All right, but no, whatever it is, no matter. At least he admitted that there was a big mistake made. So what I'm simply saying to you is that there's a serious challenge we have in Africa. And biggest challenge we have is our trust capital, our social capital is very low. Finance capital is not the most important. Trust me, physical buildings are not important. It's relationship. You, my sister, you're me, I'm me, you. If I hurt you, I'm hurting me. That's value, which is deeply entrenched in our culture and values. Ubuntu and everything. What don't we have? The extraordinary values we have. All right, we don't teach it, we don't learn it. Our children don't grow up knowing it, and they are nice, but they get misused, abused, all right, misdirected. And I think that value has to come back. And our relationships is critical. If other external forces come to divide us, we should be able to say no. We're not with you. We're not for you. We are with each other. Even if we disagree, we learn how to re-agree. All right. After disagreeing, we don't have to go to the other actors and get advantage. To get advantage, we kill each other and really hurt each other. That culture has completely to be removed. And I know your leadership values this one. We need to work very, very systematic, and I will be happy to support you. You, the energetic young people, should be there, more advancing. We, the older ones, should be backing you to promote it. We should really work very hard to actually make sure that the entire system by which we elect leaders has to change. The value has to change. The current value is not price, it's not pocket, all right? It's not money, it's not advantage, it's not competition. I'm better than you. It's not language, it's not religion, it's not all these divisive things, gender, anything. All these things we should clan, all right, caste, any of these systems that different people have, tribes, everything. We should change that. We must go out of that. We are human and African, and we should reach out to this extraordinary value. We had Ethiopianism too. Ethiopianism was a principle that was created by African Americans, and here in Southern Africa, you had a manifesto called the Ethiopian Manifesto in 1829. You said you can't make us slaves because we're Ethiopians. Ethiopia has link with God, not you. I mean, that kind of thing. We're human. The Ethiopianism is a principle that was created to also create Pan-Africanism, and now we need to also revive a whole entire Pan-African agenda, where we say Africans must unite. Where it's not talking, it's doing it. All right? How many? 58 years we talked about it. Africa must unite or perish. We talk about it. We're perishing, we're not uniting. So we must unite. And we must unite now, not tomorrow. I mean, we must really not delay it any further. Africans must own rich Africa, that Daniel has been describing in this nice, that in your AP, African Pan-African Leadership Center. I like the way the things were described. Look at our continent. What don't we have? All that has to be owned by us Africans. And then we are able to give to others. Now they take it from us. They say they give it to us, but they don't give it to us. What do they do to us? Huge amount of resources flow out of Africa. The illicit financial flows is nearly, there's a guy called, professor called Patrick Bond. He's originally from Ireland. He says, once I said to him, the former president of South Africa said, it's about 50 billion every year that goes out of Africa. But he says, Mamo, no. It's more. Over 70 billion every year goes out of Africa. So you see, what I'm simply saying to you is, these guys, they say they are giving us aid, but over 6 or 7 or 8 times more resources flow out of Africa every year than what comes in. We're the donators. They are not the donated. They say they donate us. To who do they give the donation? To their own agents that want to hurt Africa, not to the people. Our people are still starving, are begging. They are waterless, sanitation, clean water they don't have. I mean, we need to purify everything. We need to really keep our nature, save our people, unite them, make them trust each other, work with each other, love each other, and not hate each other, and not go for money. Somebody should not give me whatever money they give me and then ask me to hurt my sister Terry, my daughter or my sister, I call you. You know what I should say? To hell with you. Her life is more important. That value we should have. Sincerely speaking, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Sorry for expressing with emotion my feelings, but I have been struggling all my life about Africa. Even in African Americans, we had SOBU, Student Organization for Black Unity. I used to be in a Ivy League University, Columbia, and I said, and then when I was doing physics in the classroom, I was the only black student. Nobody was there. So I said to the dean, Dean Coleman, I told him, I want also black students to come. So he gave us money. We got the organizations, and we went. I was going to Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, all the black colleges, and I was on the media, sincerely saying to come. And I think, and at least we got, before I left Columbia, I had, trust me, I was able to get at least about 10 or so black students to join the Columbia University, Stanford, Yale University, Harvard, all this, Princeton. We tried to do things like that. We said we also must join that. So we're struggling. I'm just simply saying to you, in America, we're struggling. And I remember in 1972, we had in Washington, D.C., a big struggle where we said all these things I'm telling you, these values about whatever was going on. We did a big demonstration. I wish I could send you the pictures. In fact, a group of us from Ethiopia, you should see my hair was like that also. We're What didn't we do? We were very struggling. Now sincere, because we also said anti-apartheid, everything. In fact, I went to maximum security prison for 17 days fighting. And an African American lady, when she saw me in the Washington Post, I swear to you, I don't know where she is now. She's the one that paid the bail. She doesn't know me, but she just said, "What is this young man coming from rural Ethiopia be in this situation?" And then she paid the bill, and I got out. And then they you know what do you call it? Anyway, whatever happens, that's the experience we had. All my life I've been struggling, and then even when I came to South Africa here, I just wanted to continue our struggle to make sure Africans become. And now, trust me, I'm hurting. Almost sometimes I feel in tears, because when I see this situation, even in South Africa, I go so upset. I was go hurt, not upset, but hurt. And it's not good. And Ethiopia, all these things you see in different parts of the world. Even look what's going on in Haiti. Everywhere you see problems. Like Haiti is also another. It's like Ethiopia is a problem because it defeated the French, Napoleon and everything. And look, it's still suffering. And you know how much they still make millions. It still owes, over 21 billion or something is what the French have been taking from Haiti. Every year Haiti has been paying them. Why should they be doing that? Why should Haiti be in this situation? And they made it the poorest country in the Caribbean. You see, we have challenges. The same thing with Ethiopia. They don't want Ethiopia to be united and developed, because if it does, then it was an independent country. Then it becomes an example for the rest. The colonized ones have to be, not the ones that have been independent. Haiti is suffering, and Ethiopia is suffering. And even South Africa, with all this problem, is also, I don't know who is involved in the South African one. I don't know very much, but I'm just scared about what's going on also here. Why South Africa, of all places in Africa, which we thought was going to be a great example, they are doing this to her? I don't know. I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Kwame Ture would always say, if you're African, you should be in an organization. And if you're not in an organization, or if there are no organizations that you feel like are going to deal with the issues we face as African people, you need to create that organization. And one of the things that we were taught also through Nkrumah about being in an organization is that that's how you really affect educating people in the masses. And I think you hit a lot of points when you were talking about the mindset that we've adopted from the colonial system. A lot of us, we have developed very anti-African sentiment that we harbor within us, and that prevents us from, one, working together, and also it prevents us from thinking about African cultural institutions that reflect who we are instead of reflect what the European institution is. What are your thoughts on the process of re-educating the masses to do away with the Eurocentric ideals of what our society should look like or what our government should look like, so that we have a more Africanized understanding of what is in our best interest?
Very, very good question. Thank you so much. This is serious, what you just asked. The entire education system does not include the knowledge created in Africa. No, this is serious. So we need to completely decolonize the education system. What it means is we need to find a way, like we said, we need to change the leadership, the governance, the institutions, the system. We must also create education in terms of what has been created in Africa over thousands of years. Remember, the slavery came over 500 years ago. But so many thousands of years our people have existed. And they have been creating many things on every sphere: astronomy, mathematics, everything, language, everything, calendar, alphabet. What didn't they create? So many things have been created by our ancestors. You see? So the problem is, because they have not been created, it's been a big challenge for us. So what we need to do is, for example, the UNESCO Senegalese, when he was a Director General, he created a history book. They produced the history of Africa over 9 books were created. I think they initially 8 books. I think a few years ago they did another 9 books. But I'm just telling you, I was giving a lecture in one of the universities, and I said, how many of you know about this the UNESCO history book on Africa? And they were historians, and I said, some of them didn't know. And number 2, they should be putting it in the curriculum. Nothing. So I'm simply saying to you is that the entire education system has to change. As I explained to you on the state system is copied. What the colonialists did, they left the state system. All they did was, instead of the white guys that used to run it, they left, and then they left their people who support them as leaders. So basically, the Anglophone, the Lusophone, what I just Francophone things continued. It's still continuing. So the state hasn't really been decolonized, restructured. In the same way, the education system has not been restructured. So we need to do that. And I'm sincerely telling you, almost every sphere, the knowledge is incredible that was created in Africa. In fact, the country where I was born, Ethiopia, it's incredible what has been created there. You know, the calendar is not Gregorian calendar. There was a Sylvester what's his name? Not Sylvester Williams, Robinson. Stephen Robinson is his name. He's Swedish, and a Swedish historian who was teaching at Addis Ababa University in the history department. And he's written books on Ethiopia. And you know what? On the 2007 years by European calendar, that was how can I say to you? That was millennium, the second millennium of Ethiopia in the Ethiopian calendar. And then he said, the alphabet, he said, is a ancient Giz alphabet. The ancient Giz alphabet is one of the earliest languages which the Bible was written. There were about 5 or 6 languages that were used. The Judaic and the Giz. The ancient Giz, the first Bible was written in this ancient language, the Giz language. What he said with the alphabet, he said, does not have vowels. It expresses all kinds of voices. And he says it's the best. It's better than the Roman and Latin alphabet, he said. Can you imagine? Nobody teaches it. Even in Ethiopia, the church may have it, but in the schools, they don't teach it, most of them. And not in other places, they don't do it. But now, many universities in Europe and others teach it, in Germany and everywhere, about 21 universities, including now Canada, also they've started. And then another friend of mine called Dr. Avara Molla, he's a scientist. He has also created a Giz foundation, like a foundation like that. All I'm simply saying to you is that he said this professor historian from Stephen Robinson from Sweden said this language is superior to the Roman and Latin alphabets. He said like that. But we don't use it. We have so many languages here. And I have a good friend here now. His name is Professor Sande Ojo. And he's now creating language institute, African languages. And we're thinking about it. I'm also a board member there. And we're working on how to really also revitalize genuinely the thousands of languages we have. How do we understand them? In fact, a Ghanaian brother also, Kwasi Pra is his name, Kwasi Pra. He's called, set up a center called Kasas. And then in there, he says the root languages of Africa are no more than 11, the root languages. Almost every language we express is vowels, voice, sound variations. nothing to do with the architecture, the foundational thing of the language. So we in Africa, even in language, the anthropologists came and say, let's divide them on linguistically, but because they say 2,000 or something languages. Then they said, oh, Africa has this many languages, and then let's not make them, if they are united, they will defeat us. Therefore, let's divide them by using language. But the key thing is, even the language, the root language is not high, with not many languages. So you see, there's so many of these things we don't study and learn. There's also now another brother, Osiris is his name. He uses the ancient classical, name from Pan African name. He's in the US, and they have started a kind of digital online university, virtual university called Osiris University. And we're working on indigenous knowledge about how do we really revitalize, revive, and build on the indigenous knowledge and create innovation also. There's, just to say to you one thing, on the Ethiopian side, the German pharmaceutical, a German guy wrote a 9-page paper where he says almost every pharmaceutical knowledge that we have, we got it from the ancient manuscripts from Ethiopia. So we also have a book called Abu Shakar on astronomy. We also have something called binary logic mathematics, which is a logical mathematical system that is entirely a foundation for the same system is what the internet world uses. All these things you see in the world, the knowledge system is from Africa. You know, we recently have a book written, we just wrote with a brother from Nigeria, Nimandi, Professor Nimandi is his name, and we on engineering design and mathematical modeling. And you would not believe, I put the mathematical system in the preface, where this new mathematical system that was created was entirely came from on the internet world. This entire virtual world, the digital world is not theirs. It comes from us. There's so much we know, we have created. Some of us read it, understand it, but to create it, to change it into the system, you need to decolonize the management of the universities too, of the school systems too. At the same time as you need to decolonize the political system, the state system, all these managements. We have those challenges. Key question you asked is, how do we change it? The entire education system has to be revived, refounded, and anchored in a way that actually values and appreciates, recognizes the great contribution Africans have made. I think that's what we should do. We start with that, we develop it. As you continue to do more and more, then I think the whole world will also, those who have stolen it also we know. And what didn't they take from us? So many things have been stolen, have been taken, but they were taken from us, but they never acknowledge that they got it from us. Something like that is what we need. We need to value Africa. Africa is really rich in knowledge, rich in spirituality, and rich in many in resources. And what doesn't, in many ways, in even many approaches of indigenous practices in health, medicine, in everything we have. I mean, there's so many things. Even on HIV, here in South Africa, they wanted to even generate what they called not the pharmaceutical drugs, but something that comes from indigenous knowledge. Things like that is what we have, but we don't value it, and we don't understand it, and we don't appreciate it, and we still are misdirected by the colonial project, and that has dominated our lives and our mind for a long time. So we need mindset change and paradigm shift to completely change the education system, as we change the political system, the economic system, right? And the health system. Everything has to be rearranged and reorganized so that we manage our nature and our people's livelihood in a very systematic way, with no one begging, no one starving, no one being thirsty, and no one being shelterless. We need to be in a situation like that. That's my suggestion.
That actually leads me to my last question. You mentioned the economic system and the fact that so many of our brothers and sisters are poor, are homeless, don't have access to water, things like that. And when you look at a country like Haiti, one thing I didn't know prior to the assassination of the president is that while Haiti is the poorest country inside of the Western Hemisphere, it also has the most billionaires. So many of our countries throughout the African diaspora and the African continent, you have most of the people who are suffering while you have a small class of people who are benefiting. So we're talking about Ubuntu, embodying that. How do we transform what really is the basis of neocolonialism? Kwame Nkrumah, he told us neocolonialism is focused centrally on our economies, the Western dominance of African economies. How do we decolonize that to be something where we have I am you, you and me, instead of having some people benefit while most people suffer?
Excellent question. Very, very important question. You asked me. As you rightly put it, Haiti should not be in this situation, but it is in a very difficult situation. All our countries are in a difficult situation. But let me just say about being rich and being poor and inequality. How inequality continues to dominate us. Two examples I want to give. Whatever you say, take China and Eastern, the tiger economies in Eastern Asia. Whatever you say, they have done something that we should never ignore. All right? What did they say? If you go to China or something, you don't have billionaires or millionaires, but you have all the people now have come out of poverty. In America, you have billionaires and millionaires. Over 30 million Americans are poor. And China has over 1 billion people. It made everyone come out of poverty. All right? They declared it in 2020 when we have all this coronavirus time, the Chinese came out of it. How did they manage to do that is an interesting question. I mean, whatever you say, the Chinese did not just copy Lenin, Stalin, Marx. When Mao Zedong started, he started with what he called investigation of the peasant movement in Hunan. He says, how am I going to change the farmers in China? Can you imagine? He started like that. So he gave everything what he calls Chinese characteristics. Even Marxism, even communism has Chinese characteristics, whatever it is, whatever they took. In other words, what we don't do in Africa, we don't give anything African characteristics. We give it European characteristics, Western characteristics. We copy the West. We devalue ours. But in China, they value their own relationships, whatever it is. But they took it. They didn't want capitalism, but they took something from outside. But they say, let's give it Chinese characteristics. I think we should learn something from that kind of example. And look what happened. Over 100 years, they just celebrated their 100 years. Within 100 years, they created a China where no one is poor. That is a reality. Inequality is not that high. There is inequality, but not that high. Take us. We have huge inequality. Very, very serious inequality. All right? And let me just say this to you. We had a great philosopher. He is African. His name is Zera Yacob. He's originally from Ethiopia. All right? Long before all the Europeans say, all philosophers say, Africans are mystical. They don't know how to think. They can't create philosophy, and they can't reason. They were attacking us like that, completely, as if we don't create anything. But he was the one that created reason. He said, where did God come from? He created it by reason. From his father, God. Who created God? God created God. That kind of thing. In other words, where did I come from? From my parents. Who created my parents? God. Who created God? God. So he created a reasoning pattern, a logic, which is reason. So the African Enlightenment was created by him almost 200 years before the European Enlightenment. Now, let me tell you what he said, which is extremely important, it's very relevant for Africa. He said, if you are very rich, you are never happy. If you are poor, when you get something, you can smile, you can laugh. Well, a rich person always wants more. Because they want more, they get upset all the time. They are not always happy, he said. Being rich is not always something that makes you very happy. Being poor is not something that makes you always unhappy. No. He says the poor also can be even happier than the rich. Now, it's interesting what he said. All I'm saying to you now is that in Africa, who are the rich? If you go to the DRC Congo, which it's foreign companies that are owning the wealth, the minerals, the copper, the diamond, everything. Belgians, others, many companies. Who owns the cocoa, everything? They make the foreigners take advantage. They take our resources. Who do they give to do this? Others own it, but they give something to our people so that they can feel that they are different and they are richer than the ordinary people. So the division is there. So what we need now is changing this. To make everyone in Africa, no one should be a beggar. No one should be starving. Not at all. No one should be shelterless. Everyone, the livelihood of everyone, the decent living of everyone is a priority of priorities. We have to do it like that. So we need to create a system, the governance, the institutions, and the leadership qualities to facilitate this new relationship, where the economic relationship is to eliminate poverty, inequality, unemployment. Our youth must be innovators, inventors, creators, all right? Entrepreneurs, not people who beg, who seek something and who go to get the jobs that these foreign companies create for them. We should find a new way. Even now, all these foreign companies, all these that own our minerals and everything, we should not have to fight them, but we should say ownership is to the people, not to the state, not to the private companies, foreign or even local, but for the people. We create a system, a wealth arrangement, where then even these companies, if they are operating, we hire them. They don't own it, we hire them. Something new system has to be created. If this is not created in Africa, our economy will continue to be, sincerely speaking, it will always be a mess. We need to re-own rich Africa, all this extraordinary wealth, and the people have to own it. And we need to create a legal system, very clearly done, so that the ownership, what does it mean? For example, I told you that little Norway had oil in 1996, and they have nothing compared to us, what we have. I mean, then, over the last how many years, they debated for almost a year. They said, what should we do with the oil? Should we give it to the state? No. To the companies? No. To the people of Norway? Yes. Now I'm told every Norwegian has become a millionaire. Can you imagine? There are not many people anyway, but it's not difficult for them. But if you say the entire Scandinavia, I taught in Scandinavia for over 12 years. I never had a key for my office. I never had a key for my house. No, sincerely, there's nothing, because nobody's begging, nobody's stealing. There's no point. Because everyone has a social system. They call it a social democratic system, where everyone is given all the possibilities. If you are a woman and you have a child, for 3 years you get a salary, wherever, from any company you work. It's extraordinary how they created an amazing system. If you go to Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, all these areas, where I've been there many times there, because I worked there for over 12 years. I was just fascinated by, you don't see poor people. They have not created it. People complain the other way. I remember one of the professors' friends who used to tell me, I miss my mother because she's now in the welfare area. I want her, He says, I want to see her at home. I don't want her to be there. I don't want to go there now. I want to be now. When I go back to my office, from my office, I want to see my mom. He said, I mean, can you imagine? They are thinking, they told me stories like this. Well, I'm simply telling you, in Africa, we should be able to be in this situation. So inequality must be, economic inequality can be also resolved if we know how to unify our approach. What we need to do is to create a system, like Einstein said, unified system, where you unify the economy, the politics, the education, all right, all these systems, the social system, the nature protection, health system, everything in all these spheres, we should find a way to unify them, remove the gravity burden, and create the speed of light, relativity square. Something like that is what we need to do. Like Einstein did with space, matter, energy, time. He connected them and created an amazing theory. We need also the African Einstein theory type thing, where we unify. How do we link in a very systematic way by making sure the system, the institution, the governance, the leadership functions in a way that unify economic gain without social loss, without environmental loss, without education loss, without health loss? How do we create a system where gain, gain, gain? Health, education, all right? Health, education, economy, all right? Politics, social relations, environment, all of them are combined. Let's create a new model, a new mathematical model, a new theory that actually connects it and links it to the values of Africa, Ubuntu, all right, Sankofa. We need to bring in that extraordinary values from all our cultures, the great ones. We should take them. I know from our values there are some negative ones, like some of them marry 15, like in Swaziland, the king marries many wives and things like that. We should not get into that kind of thing. Those kinds of values we should ignore. The good values from our culture, on the health sphere, on everything, in medicine sphere, on the education sphere, on the indigenous knowledge sphere, on the knowledge heritage, spiritual heritage side, right? Our struggle from Haiti to all these other places we struggle in every part, the colonialism, all this we need to put them together, unify them, articulate them, put them in the education system, change the mindset of our people, make our youth and the women, you are very critically important. If you focus, you are very good, because you have to do details. You're good at that. So don't ignore, don't go be misdirected by all the silly things. Come into the reality and make everyone change makers and game changers, so that Africa revives, Africa shines, Africa becomes a star, the rock star of the world economy, the most fully developed economy in our time. I hope we can do that, and I hope we can go for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Mushi, and thank you again to United States of Africa for allowing me to host today, and also to our watchers on Tuna Cheki. Thank you for tuning in as well. With that, I will end the broadcast, and hopefully you guys will catch the next leadership series.
Thank you so much. Stay safe and wealthy.